very much. All right. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Well, when I was about 6 years old, I was really afraid that is what it's all about. And so I went on a search, like all of us do, to find out what it's all about, and I looked toward achievement. When I was a young girl, I earned every single Girl Scout badge you could possibly earn. I had to wear 2 sashes to contain all of my badges, and of course I was a patrol leader, and I had the pins for the most cookies sold. I looked like the General Patton version of Barbie. It certainly didn't make my parents love me more. It certainly didn't have them notice me more, which is what I was trying to get done. And so it didn't fulfill that need. As I grew a little older, I looked toward education. I spent 11 years trying to get a doctorate, finally did. And I watched my sons go to school. And in the 2nd grade, my son, Sean, came home with a paper with a red mark on it. And he kind of had the achievement issue like I did and thought, I did something wrong. There's something wrong on this page. And I said, well, let me take a look, honey. And he goes, we read this story called The Singing Raccoons. And the singing raccoons were a family of raccoons that would go into the woods and sing songs. And the last question said, do raccoons really sing? And Sean said, yes. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, just because we don't know their language doesn't mean they're not singing. So I grabbed him by the hand. We went back down to school. I'm every teacher's nightmare. And we spoke to the teacher, and I'm thinking, wait till I get to the punchline, and she'll go, oh, he's so smart. So I say, and he said, just because we don't know doesn't mean they aren't singing. And she said to me, the key says that they don't sing. So note to self, that is not going to keep you alive inside education. And I knew I had to do it for them and in spite of the education they were getting. So I couldn't find out what it's all about through education. The third thing that they will tell you over and over and over again, and you already know is true, is money isn't what it's all about. Literature is filled with the unhappiness of people with a lot of money. Now, David Lee Roth from Van Halen said, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a yacht to pull up really close to it. And that may be true, but really close isn't good enough. Really close to it isn't what we want. And then one day I was homesick, and I don't ever get sick, and then I found out what life was all about. I was watching a show called The Maury Povich Show, which is this really horrible, sorry Maury, show that kind of feasts on the unhappiness and degradation of the human spirit. And I'm homesick, and I thought, well, why not watch it? I never watch this kind of stuff. And it was called Freaks and Geeks of High School. And the first person on was a woman who grew a beard every day at high school, a woman. And she would shave every night, and it would just grow back during the day. And I was a little ashamed of myself for keeping it on this channel. I was like, turn the channel. And then the reason I was homesick was the next guest was a boy named Michael. And Michael was so deformed in his face and body that it hurt to look at him. And I was ashamed of myself for all the times that I've been so small about how I look or whether my hair's okay. And well, let's face it, it never is. So he came on, and Maury asked him, I see that you're, a football manager. What does that involve? And Michael said, well, I get to get water and towels for the guys. Do you like that job? Oh, I love it. I love my team. And this boy was so well-spoken. He was like 15 years old on national television. And Maury asked him if he would like to date. And Mike says, yeah, but it's not going to happen at my school. And Maury goes, well, thanks for coming, Mike. And he starts to walk past him. And Michael stops him. Maury, wait. And Maury's like, what? He goes, I have something for you. I brought something for you. And he pulled out a geode from his backpack. And Maury goes, what is this? And Michael said, well, you think it's just a gray, ugly rock. You think it's nothing. And you pass it by. But if you take the time to really look and get inside of this rock, and he opened it up and it was a geode, and all the beautiful colors just shined on the camera. He goes, you'll find it's the most beautiful thing in the world. I'm crying in my bed, and I'm getting the tissues, and that moment, Michael taught me a new definition of beauty. I also learned what it's all about from a little boy not too long ago in an elevator in San Francisco. And you know what adults do in elevators? It's really embarrassing. We stand them. And if somebody asks you the floor that you want and they're nice enough to push it for you, you just go like this, 5. And we just keep staring. We don't want to talk to anybody. We're in this little closed cubicle, trapped with other human beings. And a mother and her son gets on the elevator, and we're all... And the son is holding on to his mother's leg, and he goes, oh, Mommy, you smell like a rainbow. I couldn't help myself. I turned over and went, oh, that's a keeper. And I don't think she would have even noticed had I not said something. And then everyone in the whole elevator, you could see their shoulders drop and their smile begin to erupt. And they recognized a childlike spirit. The third way that I learned what it's all about is from my mother when she was dying of cancer. And I would go sit by her bed. My mother and I had a fraught and difficult relationship at best. And what I wanted to do was be able to leave her bedside and be proud of myself as a daughter. It was a very, very hard time. And we were sitting together one day, and my mother said, have I ever told you my favorite joke in the world? I said, no, tell me. I could use a laugh. She said, there was a magician, and he worked and worked and worked on this one trick to make him really famous. And he was going to perform it, and he came on stage, and he was ready with this one trick, and he asked somebody in the audience to please come up and hit him in the head with a sledgehammer. And everybody's like, whoa! And of course, somebody said, sure, I'll do it. And so this guy comes up, and the magician's standing there, the guy's got the sledgehammer, and he's like, whack on the top of the guy's head. 6 months later, after being in a coma the whole time, he woke up, and his wife was by his bedside, and he turned to his wife and went, ta-da! That's my mom's favorite joke. Beauty, wonder, awe, joy, laughter, singing, dancing, all of those are our original birthday gifts. They are the things that we're given on the first day that we're born. And it turns out there's a science called neoteny, which quite literally means holding youth, that says that we are meant to amplify and maximize all of our childlike qualities all the days of our lives, not minimize, squander, and destroy them like we usually do. Now, I could give you a lot of morphisms that can prove this science, pediomorphism, anthropomorphism, but I want to cut right to the chase. And the lead researcher in personal neoteny was named Ashley Montague. And Ashley Montague said, none of us grows up to be the adult we were intended to be. None of us. Paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould said, neoteny is the most neglected and important science of mankind. And we've never heard of it. Think about how hokey it sounds for me to tell you that you are supposed to keep all your childlike qualities alive. How easy to say. But think about every TED Talk you've ever seen. I can guarantee you that every TED talker up here has kept one or two neotenous traits alive, or he or she wouldn't be up here. Warren Bennis from Harvard says personal neoteny was the #1 commonality of all leaders across the world. Where do you think ideas like air guitar, well, not air guitar, I mean Guitar Hero. Air guitar comes from my husband and it's bad. But Guitar Hero, or a phone that talks back to you, or Kiva, or getting water to sub-Saharan Africa, or any social entrepreneurship idea that you might have, where do you think that comes from? It comes from the fun, fearless, flexible, neotenous mind that we were all born with. And some people have managed to keep alive, like the guy that jumped off the platform in space to see if he could make it to Earth in a special suit. Have you ever jumped off the roof? That's where it comes from. Management guru Tom Peters said that most neat, wild, and woolly ideas come from people who have the capacity to keep their 4-year-old spirit alive, their capacity for possibility and experimentation. When my sons were little, I have sons named Sean and Chase and Sean. I used to teach aerobics to football players, and I had a mother-son day one day, and all the mothers brought in their, all the sons brought in their mothers, and I had my 2 little sons with me. And a gym has really bad acoustics, and this woman came up to me and said, "Oh, what cute boys, what are their names?" And I said, "Well, this is Chase and this is Sean," and I kept moving. And I heard the mother go, "Who would name their children Cheech and Chong?" What? But Chase and Sean, we were on a long car trip when they were about 3 and 5, and I said, "I want you to invent a product that doesn't exist. You have 30 seconds. Invent the product." Took him 5 seconds. Sean, who likes to talk a lot and eat ice cream, decided it would be great to have ice cream that doesn't melt because he could talk all he wanted and still come back to the ice cream. Chase, who doesn't like getting up, invented socks that you just put on and they take you to school. You can sleep right through it. 5 seconds. Imagine what it's like when I travel around the world to organizations of people 30 and above, or even as a university professor when I ask students to do it. Will we get graded for this? Are we allowed to patent pen to this? They have all kinds of questions, and it takes them about a half hour, not 5 seconds. Where do these gifts go? Some of us never even unwrap the package. Some of us open up the wrapping paper a little and we look in, and then we kind of close it back up. Some of us squander them. We lose our marvels. Life is tough. And we trade them for cheap. Some of us, and I would argue most of us, are right answered, brown desked, tested right out of our original selves. They did a research study of first graders, and they measured their creativity. Off the charts, as every first grader would be. Everything is possible. Everything is awesome. Okay. By the 4th grade, their creativity has plummeted. 4th grade. That's sad enough. But they followed those people. And their levels of creativity, over like 93% of them, never matched that 1st grade level. Never came back. Never came back. It's like the Mexican jumping beans in a jar. You put them in a jar, put a lid on, they hit themselves on that lid and go, ah. They figure out where the lid is. You take the lid off. They never jump any higher than where that lid hurt them. Ever. Their whole existence. And I would argue that happens to us sometimes too. No wonder 1 in 3 of us adults is clinically depressed. 1 in 3. It's like the 1 in 3 people are ugly. Look to your left. Look to your right. If you don't see ugly, guess what? Most of us die long before we're dead. And what kills us is the burden of carrying around the weight of all of our unused life. John Cougar Mellencamp, kind of nailed it with that song, Jack and Diane, where he said, oh yeah, life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. And then there's another line, hold on to 16 as long as you can. Changes come around too fast, make us women and men. Pablo Picasso says it takes a long time to grow young. So where do we start? Well, today I'd like to offer you some points of departure for you to rekindle and begin to live a neotenous life. The number one thing you can do is begin to carry around a picture of yourself when you were young. Yep! I was very patriotic, evidently. The red, white, and blue. I carry that picture in my wallet. If I could show you my wallet, I would. But I carry this picture in my wallet so when I have to pay for something or I have to get my license out because I've been pulled over for neotenously speeding or whatever it might be. Or sometimes I just have a bad day. I look at that picture and I go, oh, there you are. There you are. That's you. And it really helps. So I would recommend you start doing that now. The second thing to consider doing is carrying with you at all times a crayon and smelling it. The scent brings you back to kindergarten. Before you knew no, before you were told to sit down, before you were told to be quiet. It just takes you back to possibility and color. And I hope you colored outside the lines. I really hope you did. And if you didn't, start now. But just that smell before I go in and give a speech back there, I was... and it helped. Carry around a crayon. Stress. Stress is a killer. And I carry around a comedy kit because humor is one of the things that is the most neotenous about a human being of all. Do you know what happens to you, like if you're caught in Bay Area traffic, trying to get somewhere, and it's bumper to bumper, and you're getting so mad because you're going to be late, and you're, whoa, these people, they're so stupid because I'm perfect. And you're just, so your hands clench the wheel, and it's a whole flight or fight response, and we can't even help it. It's prehistoric. Your hands start to sweat, and you've got the clenched things. Your eye, the pupils get smaller, your anus clenches. It's true, I'm just reporting the facts. This is what happens to you, and you're putting yourself through that. You're ready to throw a spear at somebody. But what you do instead is, if you would please, you put on a little clown nose as you're driving on the freeway. And you slowly turn to the car next to you. It kills them. They start laughing. You're laughing. They're calling on their cell phone. There's a kook next to me and it changes the whole game. And now you're laughing and enjoying. And you've shared it with somebody else. And that's what's so terrific about it. Or maybe, just maybe, you could be like the little boy who wanted to star in his school play. And he practiced and he practiced and he practiced. And he wanted a starring role. Came the audition. He tried out. He got nothing. He didn't even get a part. And he was just morose. He was crying about the whole thing. And the teacher felt so bad. She said, I'll tell you what. You can be the pig in the play. What's a pig? Well, I don't know, but you could be that. We need a barnyard animal for this play. So he goes home and tells his mother, and he's still not happy because he knows he has to be a pig. And the mother says, you know what? Why don't you be the best darn pig you could be? He starts thinking about it, forms a whole plan, decides to be the best pig he can be, and when you know the night of the play, people are doing their roles, the one character who's watching everything and reacting is the pig. He is hamming it up. Sorry. And he is selling this pig part. By the end, he has stolen the whole show. Everybody else comes out and takes their bows and does their thing. You know, it's not till the little pig comes out and goes, oink! The place erupts into a standing ovation for the pig, for the part that wasn't even supposed to be. Why? Because he put his whole self in. He used every gift, every trick, every enthusiasm, every capacity that he had. Have you ever noticed the flame on a birthday candle? The flame at the very beginning when everybody's singing happy birthday to you, and it burns, it never diminishes. It stays as bright and flaming and beautiful as when it started. And that's how we're supposed to be. So that when it comes time, you take your whole self out. Not part of a self, not a half-lived self, but a flaming, bright, incandescent self with all the capacities and gifts you were given on your first birthday. You quite literally die young as late as possible. And that's what it's all about. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Beaman. I'm speechless. Are you guys speechless? We have a couple of comments that were originally made for questions, but how do we get to your level of awesomeness?
Put your whole self in. And may I just give a shout out to Cal Poly Silicon Valley. Woo! Thank you so much, everybody.
How do you keep your inner child alive?
Those suggestions that I gave you, and I was in a really bad car crash when I was 17, in a one-car accident, and I just think it was a gift, like all bad things are, if you're the right kind of person and you work to make them the right thing. I realized, like that, I could be gone, that there's no promises, and I really wanted to matter and have a great time while I'm here, and I think that has helped guide me. So I would suggest anything bad that happens, it's a gift. It's a gift. You got to dig deep sometimes, but use that and remember, that candle, that's how brief we're here, and really live it out.
You mentioned that the education system really takes away that inner child. What suggestions do you have to maybe amend that?
Wow. I think it's really important to know that teachers do the best they can. They're in a system that's archaic and disadvantages growing spirits. So I think it really has to happen at home. the power of one. I want everybody to remember, you don't need great parents. You don't need to have a bunch of great teachers. Just one role model. Find that role model. One coach, one person that you look up to. One person that, like Tuesdays with Maury said, sees the jewel in you. To have somebody really see you and celebrate that, that'll change your life, and you just need one.
I'm going to open it up to you guys. Do you guys have any questions for Dr. Beaman?
Please ask away. Don't make me stand up here alone with nothing to do. I'll dance.
Could you answer this while dancing?
Pardon me?
Could you answer this while dancing?
Sure.
Woo! Okay. How do you be creative?
Sorry?
All right. So, like, I was wondering, how do you be creative? Like, I guess you would call that I'm kind of like a little bit crayonless and not enough piggy. Yeah. So.
So, how do you be more piggy?
Yeah, more creative.
I think it's an art, like anything. I think you have to challenge yourself and get out of your comfort zone. I think every time that you get out of your comfort zone, a little bit more of your creativity comes alive. I think especially all the people in this room are really smart because you came here today. And because you're achievement oriented. That's terrific. But it's, like I said earlier, the right answer will kill you. You've got to find all the wrong answers. You've got to, yeah. And if your teachers don't believe that, call me. I'll talk to them for you. But experiment and do things outside of your comfort zone. Don't do just things that you're good at.
More questions?
Like you said, as a kid, you were pretty like rule-driven. Like, how did you switch from that to being more creative and like free like you are now?
I just found out it didn't work. I just found out that following the rules, nobody ever got famous following the rules. And think of any company that you admire, any product that was ever invented, any social entrepreneurship idea that you want to have happen, following the rules will not make it happen. And so, I think I was about 21, 22 when I began to see following the rules is getting me nowhere. It's getting me A's. It's getting me scholarships. It's getting me jobs. But all of that is still nowhere if inside you want to do and be more. So break every rule.
More questions?
You talked about having a role model, or having a role model is a good thing. What's your role model and why?
Wow. Truth. We're all good friends now, so. The truth is, I never had a role model growing up. I never had one, and that's how I know what it's like to miss one. I had a really difficult parenting situation and those kind of things. And I didn't have any wow teachers. The teachers were just kind of doing what they were supposed to do and really, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it wasn't until I met my husband that I found a role model. And I know. But that's, if you're lucky enough, it's going to be your significant other who sees something even greater in you than you could see. So they're out there, but that would be mine as my partner.
All right, we have time for one last question. Nikhil.
You talked about coloring outside the lines.
Yeah.
Well, how do you reconcile that kind of with the ideas of society that you have to color inside the lines? Because I'm sure that none of us here want to see societal embarrassment in their future, but we all want to. But we all want to follow your advice. So how would you reconcile the two?
That is a great question, and I manifest societal embarrassment. It's just sort of my middle name at this point, but. It's such a good question, and it is a balance. And I think it was like I was saying to this young man, yeah, you got to play the game, and you all have gotten really good at the game. So you know how to play that game. In your free time, when people aren't watching, outside the lines, baby. Because, do you play piano or any instrument? Does anybody here play piano or an instrument? You have to learn the basics, right, before you can riff. You have to know the basics before you can change the game. You can only change the game when you know the rules. So you're learning the rules so that you can leave them behind when it's time, right? So no, please, no societal embarrassment on my account. Okay, you guys have been great. Thank you so much.